Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John's report is for the 4th of September. We had excitement for, the quote unquote end of summer and briefly above that ABM yellow. And then boom, we just broke the ABM yellow. And of course, as we talked, we've been suggesting anything below the ABM yellow, short, and obviously you had the secondary algo, which we figured here would be a relative key point for resistance, and we blew through that. So we blew through the 61, 76% on our way down to the 61 pretty fast. Not untypical of markets, as we talked about. The exit door is very small relative to the number of entry gates, and this was a perfect indication of that. Interesting side note to see the administration doing everything they can to make things difficult for Harris. Of course, you've had the labor adjustment numbers, and then you have subpoenas going out to NVIDIA right after the NASDAQ already was having difficulties. And that's been the trouble point right here, is the NASDAQ been pushed up against this previous algo level, could not do anything about it, and has been in a relatively weak position, trying to push back fairly clean there with just above the 76, but then that faded pretty fast. It had always had the MBI white moving a little bit forward. It wasn't that big a change from a short interest. This was just a lack of new buyers willing to enter. We've still been in shakeout. Even if we go back to the S&P, we should have talked about that shakeout reading here. We had made a little bit higher peak, started to go up a little bit, but still unable to get back above that zero line. And you can see from DOC red, just wasn't enough to get any reset from orange below to signify a continuation within it. But the bias was still to the upside for everybody, and so that really throws a monkey wrench into the mix. But from an NQ standpoint, I mean, we've been in this red zone for quite some time as we've been pushing back and forth. We're in continuation still, because that orange for at least the NASDAQ is still caught between cyan and red, so it's maintaining that. This was just one of those that just started and snowballed rather quickly to start off a week for the treasuries. Well, it's a help to them. The expectation now, well, at least the growing one, is going to be, the whisper of the Fed will have to do a 50 basis point cut instead of 25. It'd be interesting. I mean, we saw the narrative change that came through from Powell on that, and it became rather clear that that was their intention, but didn't make sense given where oil was in relation to potential inflation. But they got really good news there, and so this was a key, breaking below that 70 level now. Very helpful from an inflationary standpoint, but you're also getting indications that it's not really as much about the U.S. as they're seeing really serious degradation from China as far as demand in that, and that begins to have its worldwide ripple, so to speak, and certainly having an impact at this particular stage. So we'll see if that continues. Obviously, it was interesting reporting came out that Russia is now the number one oil and gas producer to Europe again. Who knew that, given that, supposedly there was supposed to be sanctions preventing that very situation. Euro, you would think would get a little more relief, but they already had the pre-relief from it, and so they filled back on quite a few of the positive extremes. I mean, we've gone all the way back to just about here. It still leaves these additional ones, but it's in a safe zone at this particular stage. They don't have anything to worry about, and particularly if things get softer within the U.S. Now, you would expect gold to have taken a major nosedive from this kind of news, but that's not much of a ripple, because at the end of the day, you're still spending $1 trillion extra every couple of months, and that's only going to drive commodity prices further, which creates an added problem. Because even if you get reduced demand within these, you're not taking the haircut from a cost perspective, and that's where you see that elevation in price. The same with the market and why it's at its level that it is. From a Bitcoin standpoint, just below the algo level there within its weakness, had NBI White leading here since the 50% break. Caught between previous algo levels that don't go all the way back to the previous decline there, but it really wasn't that dramatic given relative to what the market did. Did I push one too many? ETH, likewise, not so bad. It was a little soft. I'm getting a slow response here. There we go. 50K. Wow. We started off with the holiday session, already was in pre-market weakness going into it. And we had the breakdown below just as we began the start there, and it went for the short right there. I preferred the break of that 58.53, but it was pretty straight from there. Nothing else to do. It was it's not like one of those where it made it complicated. It was just one-way direction, and just following the pink color really wasn't anything required to do other than just watch amazement as more and more stops got filled, taken out, and then we broke below this 55.78 secondary level, and that just added to the acceleration within it. You can see it's pretty deep red from a shakeout standpoint, as well as from a DOC. The dip that came down where you would expect that little spike was right here. We were minus 25 level. Since popped back up, now minus 19 at this particular stage, still pretty darn weak. And with no steel reset, you'll get bonus bounces when it goes above the plus 13.5, but as soon as it dips back down, you're expecting it to cave a little bit more. I think you're going to probably see some attempt at trying to salvage where things are, but it just becomes an interesting question as far as how that narrative shifts. I'm not sure how that's a bonus for the Harris campaign and going in when you're down to the last couple of months, unless they think this is going to get all worked out and resolved ahead of time. But it does give the ammunition that the Fed needs to justify any kind of move. So that could be the answer for it, and it just becomes momentary. From a 5-minute chart here, we could see, so this started here in the pre-market, which was a bleed off from the holiday, which was still positive from a European session, but then just kind of lagged. And then as soon as we got to the actual open, it was just pretty straightforward. I mean, we didn't even break one tiny little move above the 23% after the initial decline, and then it just continued to fade from there. So this was probably one of the easier reading days. And then here we are in the current EU session as they're trying to grapple with exactly what took place. And again, this gets back into some of the credit issues and things that have been building behind the scenes. And it's not coincidental that others have had some bonus information, because obviously Buffett had been selling within the last couple of weeks quite a huge amount of banking, as well as his other concerns in tech. So when it came to why all of a sudden you did the labor revisions now versus any other time, and some of the other things, it's an interesting play. But all we had to do is just keep following the colors. It was pretty straightforward from the 50K standpoint. Didn't require a whole lot of guesswork there. As always, though, anything relevant, I'll certainly put it in the Skype chat, but I would expect that it's going to continue unless you can get a solid break above that 23% on the 50K, even particular from the shorter time frame. We'll see any kind of early start to a turnaround, but definitely was an interesting start to the month. I suggested that volatility would continue to be accelerated. Wasn't expecting it to start so quickly or so dramatically, but that's the beauty of the markets. It's always difficult. Once some degree of selling starts, and then you start to break key zones, it really gets fast if there's not anyone trying to fill in the gap and buy up what's available. So, we have new fund money coming in the next days here. So maybe before the end of the week, they'll see that as a buy opportunity and suck up a discount. If they don't, that would be very interesting to see because that would definitely result in continuation of this downside move. So we'll keep an eye out for it. As always, trade well. Have a good one. Anything relevant, I will see you on the Skype chat.